So when you get the COVID-19 vaccine, it definitely gives you protection.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And I think we're recording. Are we still recording and live? Okay. Some other myths that I've heard is that the COVID-19 vaccines are a government conspiracy, or there's microchips in them, or it can impact fertility, and that none of that is true. I will acknowledge, because especially as a Black woman, I grew up in Milwaukee as well. I've had family members have horrible experiences in the healthcare system, good experiences too, but some not so good experiences. I've studied our history, and there have been things in our history that have caused distrust with the healthcare and public health system. I do acknowledge that. But there have been so many improvements, so many things that have changed to make sure that those things don't happen anymore. And so the vaccines have been tested on millions of people, safe and effective. And even though there are rare side effects, very, very rare side effects, yes, there are some side effects, but they're extremely rare. And the benefits of getting the vaccine and protecting yourself from COVID-19 definitely outweigh any small risk of deciding not to get it. So those are some of the common myths that I've heard.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that, again, about education and awareness, I think it's so important for individuals from our community, from the African American community, to hear from professionals and doctors and scientists that look like us, because
Yes.
the information is just so much more trusted. What has been, for individuals that are working to get people vaccinated, what are some of the methods that are used to get people to, begin to understand the importance of, and actually go ahead and take that step of getting their vaccination?
That's a great question. We have seen, and I found in my personal experience as well, trust is so important. Having conversations with trusted messengers in our communities is what is really making a difference. Instead of just having someone who's credible or has a lot of knowledge, in addition to that, you need to be having these conversations in safe spaces where people feel safe, emotionally opening up about their hesitations, where they don't feel judged or stigmatized just for saying they have fears or hesitations. So it needs to be someone who's credible, someone who is having this conversation in emotionally safe space, but also someone who you know is reliable, that you trust. So that's why we need to all come together to have these conversations. Yes, I'm a medical doctor. I've spent years and years and years, more years, I lost track of studying the field of medicine and public health. But if I'm just meeting someone for the first time, yes, I might be credible, but they're just meeting me. Whereas when we partner, for example, with a pastor who may have known someone for 50 years of their life, and then they're able to share that information, they're a trusted messenger. And in my life, in fact, one of my instructors back from 15, 16 years ago in college called me recently to ask questions about COVID-19 vaccine, because this individual was like, I remember you were going to school for medical school. I saw your picture on a billboard, and I just want to call because I have questions for you. You're somebody that I trust, and you're a doctor. So having conversations with people who are trusted messengers has been very important, and really just having a heart of compassion and care when you're having these conversations. That has been really impactful, rather than tearing people down.
Thank you. I have like 2 more questions for you, and then want to know anything that we haven't covered that you want to cover. The first question is personal. My daughter is in school, and I'm so afraid of, just of her coming into contact. Is there anything that we could be doing with our children? Any extra precautions? We send them to school with masks for sure. Telling them even on the playground, because I think on the playground they have an option at Olivia's school anyway. She has an option to either wear her mask or not. Anything that we can do for our youth? Under
Yes,
12, under 12.
great question. Because I have three kids, 12 and under, a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So I'm thinking about this on a professional level as a doctor, as a pediatrician, as a chief medical officer for community health, but I'm also thinking about it as a mother as well for my 3 children, and then, other children in my family and community. So some things that you can do, just really focus even on the basics of good hand washing for at least 20 seconds. So you can find little videos on YouTube. You could play a song, make them sing a song, but you want to have good hand washing for at least 20 seconds. Continue to social distance as much as possible. Avoid large crowds, especially unmasked. And then also, when your children reach the age of 12 and can get vaccinated, we strongly recommend that. And then for those who are under 12, when it is authorized to start giving vaccines for children, then make sure that you get them vaccinated as soon as possible so that they can be protected. Also, make sure to have continual conversations with the administration for their schools to make sure that the schools are enforcing good masking, hand washing, social distancing, making sure the schools are in alignment with some of the state recommendations for all children, and teachers should be masked, following along federal suggestions as well about that. So advocacy at your school, asking them, hey, what are you guys doing to keep our kids safe? So those are just some of the things that you could do to protect them. And in addition to protecting their physical health, which is extremely important, making sure to continue to check in with them about how their mental and emotional health is doing as well, because that's very important. And our kids have been really suffering over this last year and a half. So those are some things you could do to protect the children.
Yes, I have had to. Olivia is a creative, so writing, drawing, things like that has been her outlet. So I appreciate you for sharing that. Their mental health is definitely important. And so now about the booster shot,
Yes.
Pfizer folks are, I think, up now saying that they need a booster. Johnson and Johnson. Can you talk to us about the booster shot?
Yes, I will give some information about the booster shots, because this is something that's new and very important to discuss. So DHS, Department of Health Services, we support the FDA authorization and the CDC recommendation to provide the Pfizer booster doses to certain populations. So this is just for certain populations right now that it's been authorized to give booster shots. And so I'm going to talk about a few technical details and information, very specific, and then we can kind of take a step back and see what follow-up questions that you have. So the CDC recommends booster recommendations for these particular groups. These groups the following population should receive a booster dose of Pfizer at least 6 months after receiving their second dose of Pfizer. So this conversation right now is not for those who have received a Johnson & Johnson vaccine or Moderna. The research about the booster doses for those is still underway, and some recommendations about those booster doses will be coming soon. So this conversation that I'm talking about right now is for those who received 2 doses of Pfizer at least 6 months ago, okay? These are the groups of people who should get a booster shot now. People who are 65 and older, residents who live in long-term facilities, people who are between the ages of 50 and 64 years old with certain underlying medical conditions. So because over time, we have seen that the immunity and protection that you get from the vaccines slightly decreases, there are certain populations who the recommendations say they should get a booster dose to just kind of boost up their protection, and particularly going into this winter season. Again, those who should are 65 and older, residents in long-term care facilities, and then 50 to 65 years old with certain underlying medical conditions. Then there's also groups that may receive a booster dose. It's not as strong of a recommendation, but they're saying, okay, these are who are authorized, who may receive a Pfizer booster dose. At least, again, this is just the population who has received their first 2 doses of Pfizer, and then it has been 6 months since they got that last dose. This is the one where they may get it if it makes sense for them. People who are 18 to 49 years old with certain underlying medical conditions, and then people 18 to 64 years old who are at increased risk for COVID-19 exposure and transmission because of job or institutional settings that put them at higher risk. For example, like me, I'm a healthcare worker who works in the hospitals, and sometimes we go into rooms with COVID positive patients. So that's like an occupational risk, and then that would make me qualify for that additional booster dose. And again, for those who received Moderna or Johnson & Johnson, especially because those got approved slightly after Pfizer, the research is still underway, and there's going to be some recommendations coming out in the future about booster doses for that population. And one thing I want to add about this is just because there's recommendations for booster doses, it doesn't mean that the COVID-19 vaccines are not working. As I mentioned before, you are at significantly lower risk of getting COVID-19, hospitalizations, and deaths when you get the vaccine. So when you get the vaccine, even if you might still get COVID, it's not going to be as severe. You are significantly at lower risk of being hospitalized, needing a breathing tube, and dying if you have the vaccine. So please, if you're still thinking about getting the vaccine, even though you might hear of people who get COVID anyway, they might get COVID and it's just not as severe. It might feel like a cold or not as severe. You're at significantly lower risk of hospitalization or dying when you get the COVID-19, because it gives your body immune cells to fight it if you do get it. So the COVID-19 vaccines are working. We just see that over time, the protection slightly decreases. And that's why, especially with the new Delta variant going into this winter season, there's certain populations that are at higher risk that it has been approved to give booster doses to just boost up that protection. So I'll stop there. I know that was a lot, but I want our community to be informed of all this hot off the press information. We all want to live our best lives. We all have purpose. We all want to get back to the things we have been enjoying. I know that your podcast focuses on hip hop and music. I love music. I actually sing and write my own music and play the piano. Maybe one day in the future, I'll come back for that. But it's important. We want to live our best lives, go to concerts and enjoy life. And we need to all be safe in this pandemic. And so thank you so much for letting me come on and share this information.
Thank you so much. I know that we both have things to get to. And so I just want to say thank you. I want to reserve the right definitely to come back. I would love to have you back as many times as you would like to, and in different audiences as we have talked before. So I appreciate you, and I want to let you have the last words if there's anything else that you would like folks to know.
Yes, I would like to say that number one, the Delta variant is different. So even though we've been in this pandemic a long time, some people are getting weary and worn out. We need to stay vigilant. We need to stay aware. We need to know that we're living in difficult times. And so please stay safe. Take care of your physical health by getting the COVID vaccine if you haven't already. And if you qualify for a booster dose, continue having conversations with your healthcare professionals to make the best decision for you on if you should get it or not. Vaccines are safe and effective. Yes, there are rare side effects. However, the benefits of the vaccine outweigh any small risks. Also, please stay hopeful. Take care of your mental and emotional health. Know that we are in this together. If you're feeling discouraged, reach out to someone. Do something to experience joy and take care of yourselves, because this is a hard time, but we're going to get through it together and stay hopeful. And I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Bianca Talks Policy, Politics, and Hip Hop. Meet me back here, not next week, but the week after, every other Wednesday for Bianca Talks Policy, Politics, and Hip Hop. Thank you, Dr. Zapata, and you have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.